Gaurang, I was just going to say that obviously all of these things, they are not a directive, or like they are not an enforcement, right? They're
Yes,
just a suggestion that this is how it should be.
yes,
And
yes.
things, because what happens, I have seen usually is people think, oh, like, they associate this dharmic things with a very like a iron hand kind of a situation where they think this is how it's said. But I don't think the beauty of our dharma is that nothing's been told to you. Everything is a suggestion or an explanation of the questions you might have when you're living your life. So I look at it as a guidebook rather than a directive.
Chinmayananda ji, I mean, the person who founded Chinmaya Mission. So he said, I heard one of his videos. He said a very beautiful thing. So साधु की जितनी लंबी दाढ़ी उसको उतने ज्यादा प्रश्न पूछो. So till you
Fair,
satisfy all the
fair,
questions that you have, your mind is stilled and you are
correct.
aware of what you are doing and why. You should not be. I mean, you should
Yeah,
keep
you should keep
questioning.
asking
Yes,
questions.
yes,
Yes, and I think that's a very beautiful aspect. And I don't think there is any other religion in the world which exists today which allows you to question, like the Hindu dharma ideologically allows you to question the
correct.
other. So, Gaurangji, coming back to Ramayana and the untold stories, we just now spoke about so many different aspects of the Hindu dharma. So, the Ramayana was obviously, which happened lakhs of years ago. It's
Yes,
not 2, 3,000 or 6,000, it's lakhs of years ago.
yes, absolutely.
And so the understanding, the general human consciousness, which must have existed in Ayodhya or Bharat uh, in general,
Yes,
must
yes,
have been so much like the average man of today, I feel, is nowhere near the consciousness of the average man in Ayodhya when Ramayana was happening, right? So all these things, all these qualities, all these aspects must be a part of them. Must be a daily routine, must be something that they live with. So
right,
this obviously affects how a society functions and how a
right,
society is
right.
operated. So what can you tell us about the society that Ayodhya was, from a society, from a government perspective, from a administration perspective? How did Ayodhya function?
Okay. So we can quickly lay a foundation of the characteristics that you mentioned. So Satyug is where the yugs, the four yugs of Hindu Dharma are Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, and Kalyug, and they are equated to the divine animal cow. So
Okay.
Satyug is where the cow has four legs, and Dharma is equated with all the four legs of the cow. So
Okay.
Treta is where she is standing only on three legs of Dharma. So Dharma, Treta, three. And then
Okay.
Dwapar is when two legs remain. And Kalyug is where she's standing only on one leg of Dharma remains. That is why
Okay.
we are living in Kalyug, but we still see shades of good things, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
now, when was Ramayana? To answer your question, it happened in Treta Yuga. So
Okay.
where
Correct.
the content or the amount of Dharma was very high. And I love the fact that you distinguished between Hindu Dharma and Christian religion or
Yeah.
Islamic religion, because they
Yeah.
are religions and
Correct.
we are dharma, because there are no dogmas or no set patterns. What we have is a inquisitiveness
Correct.
which is encouraged. So
Correct.
the people at that time obviously had more dharma quotient because they were living in Treta Yuga. And the description in of Ayodhya and Valmiki Ramayana is very nice, very beautiful. They talk about the city. First, they say it was a very beautiful city. It had very broad roads, very spacious roads, and there were archways, golden archways. It was well decorated. There were ponds with lotus flowers. There were many gardens with chirping birds. Saryu river was flowing by, and there were bees humming. So, and it was surrounded by high walls, and there was Saryu on one side, and it had a moat where there was a wall, and it was guarded by Shatagni. So this is the governance aspect of the city, of how it was described, and the
What
people
is what
living
is
in the
Shatagni? What is Shatagni?
Shatagni is a type of a missile. So,
Okay.
I mean, just to translate, I would translate it as Agni being fiery, and Shat means 100. So
100.
maybe they are talking of that
Correct.
when they say
Correct.
Shatagni. So
Correct.
it's a very nice thing to hear that we had missiles in those days, fiery missiles. So that was the layout of Ayodhya, and the people are also beautifully described by Maharishi Valmiki ji. I mean, again, coming back to physical, verbal, and mental, he says the people were very well dressed. they were clean, they had cleanliness, because cleanliness is very important. Even Bhagavad
Correct.
Gita says, without having a shauch, which is cleanliness, you cannot have a spiritual bent of mind. So it's
Correct.
important to have external as well as internal cleanliness. So people were clean, and the verbal aspects are described that their speech was very nice. They were very polite. They did not use upshabda or
Hmm.
wrong words,
Hmm.
and their thoughts were clean, and they had good thoughts about others. So this is how Ayodhya is described in Valmiki Ramayana. This
Okay.
is the governance aspect, and the ruler had many people to help him. If you
Okay.
wish, I can elaborate a little bit on
Yeah,
that.
yes, of course, please.
Okay. So generally in a Hindu kingdom, there were, since you are talking of governance, there was a king and he had people to help him. So the people to help him, there were seven people primarily. The first one was a Kulguru. So Kulguru is a Brahman priest who guides him on matters. So Dasharath Rishi always took the advice of his Kulguru, Vashist Rishi. And there are hundreds of other examples of kings taking advice of their Kulguru. So Janak Raja used to take advice of Shatanand Rishi in Videha. So then the next person is the Senapati, the army commander. And the third person is the internal security, like the home minister of today. And the fourth person is a treasurer or the finance minister of equivalent today, who has to make sure that the Rajya is running in the right way and the finances are properly balanced.
Okay.
And the next person was a judiciary. So imagine in those days you had a judiciary. Okay,
Correct.
and the
Correct.
the other two were astrologer and a Vaid, physician. So
Okay.
these people governed the city state or the kingdom.
Okay.
So the king was the ruler, but governance was handled by his core team, and then of course it
Exactly.
further.
And this is so interesting because this sounds like democracy, but I think it's better than democracy, right? Because you don't have the input of everyone. You have an input of knowledgeable people and learned people and people who are, well versed with the laws of society and the laws of the nature and the laws of the universe and things like that. Right. So I think it's not just like Dasharath Raja, for example, just giving orders to his cabinet, let's call it, right? It is more
He was
about
also listening. Yes.
he was also listening to what they had to say.